value add to our accounts, and the folks at Etna feel the same way. And it's been great working with them thus far. So thanks for being on. With that, I'm going to kick it to Al. Al Ferguson has been on. He will introduce our guest speaker, but Al, take it away.
Thank you, Zubin. We are, again, very excited to be here. This is a fantastic topic. There's always so much excitement and potential with social media, and I'm especially excited because we have a special guest speaker today. And I think she's going to click the slide down for me. So again, my name's Al Ferguson. I'm the Business Development Manager at Etna. Etna is a digital marketing agency specializing in the aesthetic marketplace for the last 12 years. And today we have our social media manager and social marketing guru, Ashley Williams. Ashley does amazing things for our clients, and she lives in social media. So she's going to talk to us today about how it can fit for your practice and give you some best practices. Ashley, please share all your information with us.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Al, for that great introduction. I'm very excited to be a part of the webinar today. This is going to be really informal, Q&A style, so please make sure to use the chat box on the webinar screen and ask questions as we go along. This is for you guys. So to get started, I'm just really going to talk about the basics. Is your business the right fit for social media? And is every practice the right fit? No. There are a lot of factors that go into if your business should be active on social media. So social media is timely. Your properties are live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you're the type of practice who has committed to things in the past but failed to stay on schedule or might not have the staff support, then social media might not be the right choice for you. It can be a really valuable asset and a really important part of your marketing strategy, but first ask yourself if your practice is the right fit. So some of the questions that we ask clients when they come to Etna is, can you regularly produce interesting content? Again, have you previously failed to follow through on your marketing efforts in the past? And are there empowered and capable staff members who can support social media? Do you have somebody on staff who really understands your voice, can sign in every day, monitor comments, respond to questions, just a really good brand advocate to support you on social media? But don't you need social media to rank in Google search? That's another question we get all the time. And again, the answer is no. Social media is a correlating factor to being successful in search rankings. It is not a causation factor. So while, yes, you do see a lot of really great #1 ranking sites that have social sharing or have a really strong Facebook and Google Plus presence, it is not required. So you can see here that many top-ranked sites have little to no social media presence. Most SEO experts agree, again, that it correlates. Anytime that you're sharing links on social media and people are coming to your website and using your social sharing tools, it can contribute to your backlink profile, which has, in turn, SEO benefits, but it's not directly related to Google search. The only thing I'll say here is we're going to talk a lot about blogging and Google Plus as a social platform today. And because blogging is on your site and not on a social platform, that can positively, in fact, impact your rankings. And because Google Plus is Google's social network, again, you have the opportunity there to make a positive impact. But when it comes to Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, the ones that are really hot today that we'll talk a lot about, there's not a direct correlation with your Google search rankings. So jumping in, if you decide that your practice is right for social media, and if you decide that you're okay that it doesn't offer direct SEO benefits, the first question you're going to ask yourself is, what channel should I use? And at this point, it's safe to say a lot of you probably have set up a Facebook page or you've tried out Twitter. What I really want to stress here is that you want to succeed on one channel before targeting another. So get really comfortable with your Facebook page. Understand what works. Get that staff member empowered to publish posts at a timely manner and take photos at events, and then expand your efforts onto another social platform. Again, here, when you're in doubt and you're still really new to social, a blog can be a good indicator on whether or not you'll be successful. There isn't one channel that I'll say this works for everybody because there's different benefits to everything. I'll kind of cover that a little bit later in the webinar. But overall, when we're looking at aesthetic practices or the cosmetic industry, blog and Facebook are always my top two choices. So to summarize here on our little introduction, practices with social brands and personalities are going to be successful on social media. You're really going to ask yourself, do we have content that we can create regularly? Can we stay on track with our schedule? And can we start with one platform, engage really well there before moving on and setting up multiple profiles across social media? Okay. If there's any questions, again, feel free to use the chat box and ask your questions as I go. I'm happy to stop and answer anything. When it comes to social support, can I outsource social media? Obviously, I want to say yes, of course you can outsource, because that's what we do here at Interactive in the social media department. But you really, it's not as simple as just outsourcing. It's like hiring a bad babysitter and not doing your homework first. Social media requires your involvement. Aspects of social media, such as activations and posting support and running campaigns, this is where it's really easy to outsource. A vendor can really help you stay on top of these things and try some more advanced tricks. But your staff needs to be involved. So we really can't do it all on our own. We're not in the practice with you. We're not taking the pictures. We're not necessarily at the events. So picking somebody on staff to be our partner in this is what's going to make it successful. So you're picking your staff member and you're going to put this duty of social media responsibility on them. How much time is that going to take for them? Some common social media activities that we typically cover as the outsourced vendor are the bigger picture strategizing, the aligning your social media efforts with your bigger campaign goals, making sure that you have active programs to get those fan numbers up. I want to highlight that fan numbers aren't sole indicator of if you have a successful social media page. But yes, people do take into account that, oh my gosh, this page has 10,000 followers. It must be offering value. Unfortunately, social media is kind of like an apple tree. I always use this reference. It's not going to happen overnight. If you're just now setting up your Facebook page, it's going to be really hard to reach 1,000 followers. That might be a year-long goal for you. So knowing that you just set your basic goals, you make time daily for these activities like planning posts, creating graphics, cross-promoting your content on multiple channels, monitoring your page for feedback, for comments, and running advertising across all of these social media platforms. The most important one here for me is monitoring for feedback and responding to fans. If you just set up your page and you walk away from it and nobody's in there monitoring, you're going to get some negative reviews. It's just the reality of it. And Facebook reviews are now showing in Google search. So if you walk away from that and you get a one-star review and you're not there to respond or to turn that into a positive story, then people might come to your page and that might be the breaking point where they give up on your brand and they don't turn into a customer. So being on top of that, trying to respond in a positive light. I never recommend deleting any comments. It's honest feedback. And that's why people come to social media. It's a new marketing age, and it gives people the opportunity to really reach you at all hours of the day. Okay. So you cannot effectively outsource every aspect of social. You can definitely partner with a vendor, partner with an agency to do that campaign work or to really invest in building your fan numbers, but you will have to have somebody on staff who is dedicated to creating content, talking to them at least once a week, sending photos, sending specials, keeping them in the loop. And then success in social media may require a minimum of 8 hours weekly. That seems daunting, I'm sure, to many of you. Splitting that responsibility with a vendor is totally doable. I say if you just have a Facebook page, logging in 15, 30 minutes a day will be enough time. But as soon as you start to expand on a blog and you expand on Google Plus and YouTube and Twitter, that's where that 8 hours becomes a reality. So you really want to make sure you take it slow. Okay, social action. So now that we've decided that we're going to be able to do this, we have our pages set up, we know which platforms we're on, what the heck do I talk about? And this cat, I swear, reflects the feeling that most people have when they're signing onto their Facebook page every day. How am I going to think of something to post about every single day? I know many of us have struggled with that. Luckily, there's a lot of timely topics, depending on your industry. I know most of the people listening are in the cosmetic industry. There's always things going on. You know, there's Renee Zellweger, who looks completely different on the red carpet, or there's the Kardashians and their crazy photos. You know, we can use these things to really get the ball rolling and to make sure that you have content every day on your social media platforms. But here, it's good to remember that every platform is different. So we kind of use this rule in general. You need to create new content about 20% of the time. So that means 80% of your posts can be curated content. They could be sharing, they could be commenting, you could be engaging with others. It's a social marketing platform. So you don't need to create your content from scratch every day. That would be crazy. But you do need to be posting often. Does everybody kind of understand the idea with creating new content versus curating content? I would say if you're going to curate content, you want to make sure you're sharing something that's related to your target market. So that Renee Zellweger article would be perfect because it's obvious that she's had plastic surgery and you're in the cosmetic industry and your audience can relate to that. You don't want to post something completely random like global warming. You want to share things that relate to your audience. And I think understanding who your audience is going to be the first step at being successful. So here on this slide, I kind of talk about each platform and how they require a different strategy. And while your brand, in general, you might understand that you have 70% female customers, 30% male. They're typically between the ages of 30 and 50. But it might be different, a little bit different for each of these networks. So on Facebook, we see 90% women for most of our pages. We see so many females engaging on our posts. But when it comes to Google+, we see a lot of males. We talk to a really primarily male audience, a lot of young, tech-interested people who are kind of on the cutting edge of technology and are looking for more of an educational opportunity to engage with our brand. So you want to tailor your posts, you want to tailor your topics, your voice, everything to really think about which social media platform you're posting on. And there's a lot of third-party platforms here that make it easier to post on your blog. It will auto-tweet to Twitter, and then it will post on Facebook. And while those are all great, it's going to save you a lot of time. I think there's so much value in writing a post that's tailored for the social network that you're publishing on. So on Twitter, you only have 140 characters. You don't want it to cut off in your tweet that's auto-linked from your blog. You want to think about the content strategy that's particular for Twitter. You want to include hashtags, a link, a call to action. A lot of these things are more advanced than what we're going to go into today. And I've chosen not to talk too much about Twitter because I think it's kind of an additional platform that you can use if you have time, but it's not going to be where you start for your brand, for your practice. These four, blog, Facebook, Google+, and YouTube, are where you can really convert leads and you can really build loyal brand advocates. So these are kind of our bread and butter here at Etna. Okay, so think of your blog as your more editorial content. This blog should express the opinion of your business. It should really just add dimension to your website. It's an open platform where you can share news, you can share insights, you can even share events and specials or relate to timely articles, but it's really the opinion of your business. Now, Facebook is more interactive. You want to ask questions. You want to challenge your audience with true or false questions. You want to put photos on there and videos and surveys. This is where people are really talking to you. You're going to get engagement because it's going to be fun. It's going to be uplifting. So really think about Facebook as little short updates that people just want to click like. Again, Google+ is where you can educate. You've really got to work here at building a following, or you're going to be talking to a ghost town. But Google Plus is a great place to just come in. You can give business updates. You want to point links to your site. You want to give your followers value. And at the same time, go about it with an SEO mindset. So really think about your keywords. Again, those links to your site, using hashtags to reach new audiences. Google Plus is more SEO and educational. And then when it comes to YouTube, YouTube is difficult for a lot of our practices. Videos are expensive to create. So if you want to create short, patient-centric videos, that means if you have a little update that you can share in the office, record it with your iPhone. Not every video has to be a production. While yes, that would be nice. It would look beautiful, and you'd probably get a little bit more engagement. You are looking for a volume of videos here that might just be too expensive if you really are investing in video production for every video. And this day and age, a lot of people just like to digest information in the video format. So you want to have those quick updates in the video format and then in the text format on your blog. Vary the way that you're delivering the same information. Okay. Hopefully that still makes sense to everybody. I'm going to go now into each of these platforms and how often you should be posting. Frequency is important. So when you're considering if Facebook is right for you, and if that's the platform you're going to get involved on next, can you really think of 4 posts per week? Again, 20% curating content, 80% creating content. I'm sorry, 20% creating new content, and 80% curating content. So that doesn't mean you need to create every post from scratch. You can share. You can borrow ideas. You can take an inspirational quote from Pinterest. Just make sure if you share any photos that you have bought the rights to share that photo. That's kind of my little warning that I put out there. Now that Pinterest makes it so easy to pin and repin and share photos, a lot of our practices are just right-clicking, copying an image, or saving an image to their desktop and re-uploading it as a Facebook post. The likelihood of you getting caught for doing that is very slim, but it's not legal by any means. You need to go to iStock, you need to use programs like Canva, and you need to buy the rights to use that image. And typically they're not very expensive, $5 to $10 per picture, and that's going to save you a copyright lawsuit. So really make sure that you own the rights before you post anything. And that goes across all of these. I mean, you should have a picture on your blog, a picture on Google Plus with your posts. Images are always going to get more engagement no matter what platform you're on. Okay, so varying your frequency depending on the platform. I would love to see people blog once a week, but it's just not a reality. Usually when you sit down to blog, you really want to think about it. The length is important. You want to have about 500 characters in that blog post. And you want to have links. You want to have photos. You want to have keywords worked in there. It's timely. It takes a lot of time to create blogs. So if you can get one a month, that's a solid start. People will come to your blog. They'll see that it's updated enough, and maybe they'll subscribe or they'll check back often to see what you're posting about. Facebook is so competitive. You need that 4 posts a week. Just the reality of it. Facebook will reward you in their news feed if they see that you're dedicated to keeping that updated regularly. Google Plus, I'm saying a minimum of 1 post per week here. We have found that if you post at least once every 2 weeks and people do a branded search for you in Google, they will see your post to the right-hand side when your local Plus page displays. That's awesome. That's you taking up even more real estate on that first page of Google when people are looking for your practice. So post to your page here. There's a lot of confusion. Authorship is now dead, and Google Plus is never easy to work around and find your place to post. My advice is to post on your main local Plus page under your business name for your primary address. And just keep it updated once a week. It'll be enough. Okay, and on YouTube here, there's no true minimum. You can post a video. You can post a chunk of videos 1 month and just kind of let them ride for the rest of the year. the important factor there is that the video is optimized, you have the right tags, and that it will keep rolling and it will keep getting views because you'll be promoting it on your blog or on your site or on Facebook. Okay. So to summarize there, your content strategy and your frequency needs to be aligned with the social media platform that you're posting on. It's all different. They're all going to vary. A lot of the times I have clients come to me and say, well, we want to be on Vine now. We want to be on Instagram. We want to be on the next hot channel. But you can see from just those 4 platforms how much of a time commitment those really are. So make sure you have the staff. The more you can be on, the better, as long as you're doing them well. So really make sure you think it through. Okay, I'm going to move on to social risk. Hopefully that made sense to anybody. I can come back and answer any questions as we keep going. It's really important to talk about the risk factor in social media, especially when it relates to the medical industry. So education will help decrease this risk. You want to talk to your staff. You want to make sure that they understand the best way to use social media. And when they're at work, keeping it separate from their personal lives. So we talk about creating a social media policy. And this is it says, what do you mean policy? And this is a snapshot from the NYPD. And they did a Twitter campaign, and they asked that people share photos with the hashtag NYPD. And what they got as a result was really not what they expected. It kind of backfired on them. People shared images of pretty negative experiences with the NYPD, and I don't think that they were prepared to really jump on that and make it a positive thing. So when you're launching campaigns and you're asking for people to use hashtags, really think it through. Think of the positive and the negative. Search on the social platforms to see if those hashtags have been used before and how they've been used. You will get a sense that if it's a good choice or not. So in regards to policy, the number one thing that stands out for us is separating your business posts and your personal posts. You want to restrict access to any of your personal personal platforms so people cannot friend you. They can only like you on your business page. One of the stories that come to mind for us is we had a doctor who jumped on Facebook as soon as it was released and really was a kind of a leader in social media marketing for us. And he was using his personal profile to further promote his practice. He was friending a lot of patients. He just thought, hey, I'm posting things over here about the business. Why not friend them over here? And unfortunately, he had a friend come into town. He canceled half of his surgeries for the day, left work a little early for a round of golf, posted a picture on his Facebook page, and one of the patients who had scheduled a surgery for that day saw it. Needless to say, they were pretty unhappy, pretty public about their unhappiness, and it's unfortunate. You want to be able to go off and enjoy yourself and have your own separate personal life and not worry about everything being online, but when you post things on the internet, they're public. So really make sure that you're keeping it separate, you're locking down your privacy settings as much as possible, and you're keeping business separate from pleasure. Okay, HIPAA guidelines. This is where it's important to educate your staff. With social media, you want to make sure your consent forms include social media promotion. So if you get sign-off from a patient to use the before and after photos, or you're hosting an event and taking pictures just like you should be, make sure that people sign a release form, that they are allowing you to upload their picture across any social network that you choose, whether it be blog, whether it be email marketing, whether it be Facebook. Just make sure that you have their consent. And then also, when people are commenting on your Facebook page and they're engaging with your blog and they're releasing any personal information like, I love my results, or I had such a great experience with this practice, be really, really conscious of how you respond. I always say just say thank you. Leave it at that. You don't want to admit that this is your patient. You don't want to cross any lines. You definitely don't want to give medical advice. All of that needs to be done in a private email or a private message, not on the public Facebook page. Okay? So considering formal policies, identify who is permitted to participate in social media on behalf of your practice. Almost every platform allows you to restrict login access with a variety of admin levels. You can select somebody who has free reign, give them the keys to drive your car, or you can just give them a very, very limited reign depending on what they're responsible for. You should establish a formal human resource policy that really articulates your expectations and risks surrounding your employees' personal behavior on social media. And you should document protocols for that post review and approval so they know how to respond when that comment comes through and that patient says that they've loved coming to your office. Okay, to summarize here, just be smart. Keep your personal separate from the professional. Understand how HIPAA can impact your social media posting, and educate your staff. Really get them on board and a really good understanding of how things work. Okay, now how do you be successful? I talked before about how it's kind of like growing an apple tree. You have to keep watering the plant before you can eat the fruit. You really have to keep at it. It's not going to happen for you overnight. You're not going to be Britney Spears on Google+, who surprisingly is like the most successful Google+ presence. It's going to take time. So to reach your target audience, first you want to know who that audience is. It's going to be competitive to get to them. You need to rise above the competition, the many brands that are posting on all of these social network sites, and give them the type of content that they're most interested in. You want to think visual, you want to include a good call to action, and you want to vary your type of post between links and photos and videos, and you just got to keep at it. You've got to have a good editorial calendar, outline your posts, make sure you're meeting the minimum for frequency, and you will succeed. It will work. So again, reach today requires investment. You want to make sure that you really think through your content, that you understand what your audience wants to see. I want to highlight here specifically for Facebook, it's no longer a free platform. You have to pay to play. And that's part of Facebook going public, Facebook having over 1 billion users, and most importantly, them having the most targeted ad dashboard of any of the social networks. There's so much opportunity here, and that's where I think an outsource or a vendor relationship could come in handy for most practices. It's really important to have a good marketing experience, marketing understanding of how the promoted posts work. I've seen many, many practices just throw money at it, and you don't need to do that. If you really target your promotions, you could do 1 promoted post per week, $20 a post. Start small. You don't need to spend $500 on 1 post. Make sure you're promoting smart, you're using the Ads Manager dashboard, and you're really understanding who you want to reach. I have also seen practices pay to get fans, and while this could be a good tactic, it can also backfire really, really bad. So if you pay to get fans and you just say, Facebook, I want 1,000 likes this month, they're going to give you people from Timbuktu. They're not going to give you people in your local market who are actually going to walk through your door. So you want to make sure you say, Facebook, I need 100 likes in the next 30 days that are women between the ages of 35 and 44 who are moms, who are college educated, who are married. You can really, really get targeted. So that's an awesome way to reach your target market. And then on Google+, again, it's kind of a ghost town. So spend time getting involved, circle people, join communities, really, really post often, and think about your content that you're sharing. Make it valuable because the people on here are looking for top-notch educational posts. And then YouTube, luckily YouTube's lifespan of those videos will continue to roll. It's just more about promoting it and working it into your strategy to get more reach. And YouTube has a really good tool, just so you guys know, under their help area that gives you a walkthrough of how to optimize your channel and how to optimize descriptions. They have all that information available to anybody who uses YouTube. And now that YouTube is linked through Google+, every time you upload a video, it will automatically post to your Google+ page, and it's all really integrated. YouTube is the 2nd largest search engine in the world, so you do want to invest there. It's right behind Google. And Google owns it, so it's really the same thing. Okay, so I'm understanding how to post, how often to post, what to post. How do I know if I'm succeeding? And this is always a really, really challenging question for us. There are so many analytical tools on every platform. There's Facebook Insights, there's YouTube Analytics. You can use Google Analytics on your blog, or a variety of plugins to really understand which posts are successful. But you really want to keep on it. I recommend pulling stats every month and setting realistic goals. So some of the key performance indicators that we focus on are fan numbers, how many impressions or how big your reach is, what your engagement rate is, and how many referrals to your site. A lot of people don't really understand the value of fan or the value of an impression, but it allows you to make KPIs that directly relate to that social platform. And it just allows you to see the growth. You know, if you get 10 new fans in October and 25 new fans in November, what did you do differently? How do we amplify that type of post or that type of technique to keep that number increasing at that rate? So set some good goals. Hey, we want to reach 500 fans by the end of the year. We want to have a reach of 20,000 people a month with an engagement rate of 5%. That's huge. I typically see engagement rates between 2 to 3%. So you know you have a really healthy community if you can get above that. And you want to have, you know, 100 referrals to your site every month from Facebook, 100 referrals from your blog or from every social network. And that's going to really make sure that you turn these into lead-generating tactics. Luckily for us, we have ref codes on all of our links. We have a core system that tracks when people come from Facebook, then they go to the site and they fill out a form. It allows us to put a dollar number on the ROI of our social media plans. But if you can just monitor these key numbers and see how they grow, you'll start to see the benefits. Again, social media is a relationship marketing tool. It's more about creating brand awareness. It's not necessarily about driving the end dollar, but it's going to happen. People who follow you on social networks spend far more on your brand in their lifetime. These are your most loyal customers. So when you run a campaign or you run a giveaway, think about rewarding your top buyers. This isn't necessarily going to bring in 10 new patients to this campaign. It might. They might tell their friends, and you might get some new patients that are awesome. But most importantly, it's rewarding the people that are your most loyal customers. These are invested in your brand. They understand what you're about. They care about you. They follow you on their free time, and they're the ones that are going to spend the most money. So to summarize here, to be successful, invest time and money into your posts. The time is the biggest one. Stay on it. Stay relevant. Post trending things that are interesting to your audience, that relate to your business, and dedicate a little bit of an advertising budget per month. $100, $200. See what works for you and what you're comfortable with. Don't jump into the deep end without the training. Understand how to use the Ads Manager tool and target your efforts. And again, your success will vary by your channel, so make sure that you have measurable numbers. You're pulling stats every month. You're using the tools that are available to you, and you're making sure things work. Okay, so that's all we have today. If you want to learn more, you can subscribe to our newsletter or follow us on Facebook, and you are always welcome to email me directly, ashley@etnainteractive.com. And now we'll open it up for any questions that Al has or any questions that have come through.
Thank you, Ashley. That was just fantastic.
Thank you.
Ashley, there are a few questions. If you can reach down and open up the box, I'll look at the first one and then let you look at some other ones.
Okay.
One said, how much should I pay for high-quality blog posts written by a professional writer? And that can vary quite a bit depending on how much effort the writer does, whether if it's just copywriting and it's a really good professional medical copywriter, the hourly rate could be anywhere from $75 on up to $150 an hour. And it could take 2 or 3 hours to write the post. If that writer's also going to go out and find graphics or images to use and then load it onto onto your blog for you and configure it, that blog post could run as high as $800 to $1,000 or more dollars. Does that sound about right, Ashley?
Yeah, I think that's important. You're really just looking for quality, so I think it's worth the investment if you're getting a strong blog post that really reflects the voice of your practice. And then once you choose that person that you're going to outsource to, try to stay consistent with them, because you're going to really get a voice going. People are going to subscribe to your blog. They're going to listen to you. And you don't want it to sound like every post is coming from a different person if the byline is the same. So if they're representing the voice of the doctor, do you trust them and make sure it's consistent?
Yeah, very, very important. There was another point from about measuring metrics, in that each channel has their own metrics, but how can we tell how that actually brings business in through the practice, and how does that convert to people actually coming in the door?
Yeah, hopefully you have Google Analytics on your website, and you can see when a referral comes from Facebook or a referral comes from Twitter. You can see how long they spent on your site, what pages they visited, and that's going to give you a good indicator if they convert. If you don't have forms set up with tracking, just really dive into the Google Analytics numbers of how long they spent. Another cool idea is a trackable phone number. So instead of promoting your website all the time, setting up a trackable phone number that you only use on Facebook or you only use on your blog, and that way anybody who calls to that number, you can say that, hey, this came from Facebook. If they convert into business, that's a direct ROI for your efforts.
Excellent. And indeed, there are more. In addition to Google Analytics, there are tracking softwares available for purchase, and Etna has their own proprietary that we use on all of our leads that gives you even more detail on leads, and that can help you measure that success. So look into making sure you have Google Analytics, free tool, and then there's even other ways that you can measure your success with other tools.
Yeah. I see a question here on photo editing. So what do you guys use to edit photos for social media? Right now, the tool that we use most often is Canva. We've also used Photoshop in the past and a tool called PicMonkey. Canva, we have found, is the most user-friendly. They have great tutorials on their site that can walk you through how to use the tool, and you can make an image for a Facebook post in 2 minutes. It's so fast. They have a bunch of free images on there that you can use unlimited, or any of their images that are for purchase are $1. So it's really easy. It allows you to do everything Photoshop was doing without being an expert. And the images are nice, they're professional, and they look really, really great. And they get a lot of engagement. So Canva's our #1 tool right now.
Cool. There's a question here about Facebook, paid ads versus boosted posts. What's better and why?
Okay, really great question. Boosted posts. So Facebook, I'm sure many of you have seen, if you're an admin on a business page, in the bottom right corner, you'll see just a boost button on the bottom of every post, tempting you to spend money through Facebook. All that's going to do, there's going to be a few targeting options, but really think about it as a television commercial or a radio ad. You're reaching thousands of people, you're getting the volume of people, but they might not be the ones you're looking for. So the boost numbers are going to give you the highest reach. You're boosting $20, $100, and you're getting the sheer volume of people. When you go to the Ads Manager and you use the page post engagement ad, you really can dive into a custom audience that's targeted. It might only reach 800 people versus 5,000, but that's where we see the conversions happen. So use the Ads Manager tool. It takes a little bit longer, but you can see stats, you can see the lifetime of the post, you can extend the duration of how long it's running, you can increase the budget, you can add additional targets. It's really customized. Similar, if you're familiar with Google PPC, the Ads Manager tool is very similar. You can optimize for clicks, you can optimize for engagement. It's just a whole realm of opportunity there versus just boosting and hitting 5,000 people.
Excellent question, Christoph. Thank you. there was another very good question about getting your team on board. And this one in particular was saying, is asking about what do I do if my team wants to be all over social media and they're wanting to focus on one channel. How do I convince them that one channel is the way to go as opposed to, that they can be successful on only one platform as opposed to trying to be everywhere that their competitor is?
Yes. That's really hard. We deal with that a lot. And it's easy to get excited. You want to be on the next hot thing. But I would just think about it from a business perspective. If you're the business owner, just saying, we only have this much funds to dedicate to social at this time. I can only allow this much time, and I really want to make sure that you're doing it well. So I don't want to spread your efforts too thin by putting this limitation on you, but let's just start here, make sure we do it really strong, and then we can talk later about getting on the additional platforms. It's important to make sure that that platform is going to be around. There's no guarantee. So when you're putting everything on Facebook, that's a third-party platform that, if Facebook goes away, you lose it. You lost all of that time and that investment. So really make sure, Facebook's been around and they're running it, but make sure that Instagram's going to stay, or make sure that Pinterest really has your best interest in mind. And for a lot of practices, it does. It's just more about, can you afford to give your staff that type of time? Can you make that investment as a business?
Yeah, you're really going to reap rewards when you go deep into that channel and get engagement of your followers. If you can afford to do that on many channels, great, but really nail it. Get it really down with one channel and then go from there.
Exactly, yeah. Make your efforts count. And people will know if you really are doing it well versus kind of half doing it. And they don't want to come to your Twitter and see that your last tweet was 3 weeks old when Twitter refreshes every 3 minutes. It just won't be valuable.
Okay. There's another question about starting out on Facebook. Would you recommend having it allow reviews or comments or not?
Definitely. Open up as much as you can. Make it all public. Give the floor to your fans. Give your patients the opportunity to share their experience and to say how much they love you. Over the years, 95% of the comments and reviews have been positive. There's a few disgruntled employees that might try to leave a 1-star review or say something negative, but that is so rare. There's so much positivity that comes through Facebook, and the people who feel compelled to comment are usually the ones that have had the great experience. It's not really like Yelp where you eat at a bad restaurant and you want to talk about it. It's more the positive. They come to here because they want to join your community, they want to follow you, and they want to say that they love you. So give them that freedom.
Okay. There was a question on success measures that I tried to address, but I didn't do a good job. So there was another person that wanted to know more about what are the success measures, growth in fans and followers, or impressions or reach, engagement or interaction. How are you really measuring success, and what do those different measures mean?
Yeah, so those tools are kind of ambiguous if you're not really familiar with the platform, and they're going to vary depending on which platform we're talking about. So I'm going to stick with Facebook for now, and that's kind of where those terms are coming from. So on Facebook, they have their Facebook Insights tool in the admin panel, and you can just see a tab that says Insights, and you can customize your date range. I always say pick the last month, so you can really report on a full month of your efforts, and export that data into a spreadsheet. Look at the days that your fan numbers increased the most. Tie that to what was posted that day. Tie that to the engagement rate that came from that post. That's how you're going to know what's working and what's not. Again, it's going to be hard to correlate that to a dollar number. It's difficult to prove ROI on social media. It's just the way it is. But if you just set those numbers like, okay, this month we got 20 new fans, next month we're going to shoot for 40. We're making sure that these are real people that are in our area, that are interested. You can see all of that under Insights. You can see percentage of males versus females, where they live, their income level, everything. And just monitor your growth step by step. It's a relationship marketing tool. It's about brand awareness. These KPIs will just let you make sure that you're focusing the right type of content to the right people and that you're being successful with your posting.
Okay, someone asked about the photo editing site. I answered it by typing canva.com, C-A-N-V-A.com.
Yep.
There was a question about having posts planned for the month. And the answer there is you can, on most of these platforms, I know in Facebook and Google+, you can write posts and then schedule them out for a later date. So most of them have that service, if that's, I believe that's what you're talking about there.
Yeah, most of them have that service. The only one that doesn't is Google+. You can't schedule Google+ post to a profile at all, although I don't really suggest that you do, since your profile should be your personal profile about your thoughts. But you can schedule to a Google+ page for your business using a third-party program called Hootsuite, HOOTSUITE.com. And they are Google+ is the only platform right now that you cannot schedule posts. You can schedule posts on Twitter through their ads.twitter.com dashboard. So where you would run an ad is where you also schedule posts. A lot of people don't know that. And then on Facebook, it's right there on the business page. And we do suggest doing as much prep work as you can before that month, writing as many posts as you can, doing the heavy legwork ahead of time.
Excellent. Excellent. There was a question about what do you do about the one-star review, even if you respond to the person's concern. That's from Kathy. And Kathy, this is a question that we've done almost entire webinars, really. We're reputation management. You do want to respond as positively as you can and ask them, you let them know that you do care and that you're willing to talk to them more and just look like the nice person on Facebook so that you're addressing concerns, and then work to earn more reviews is a good way so that there's other people leaving lots of positive reviews for you on the same platform. That's probably the best way of addressing it. But I will let you know, if you go to our Learning Center on etnainteractive.com, there's a couple of different webinars on reputation management and actually handling negative reviews in general.
We also suggest doing a couple posts, maybe once a month, asking your fans for a review. So if you do get that one-star review, just post on there, hey, we'd love to hear from you. Just feel free to leave a review for us on Facebook. And we've had it work. We can see that those reviews came in right after that post was published. And just like Al said, you're not going to be able to hide it, or you're not going to be able to delete it entirely, but you can respond and make it a positive thing. And think of those comments or those reviews as a lead that's coming through a phone or your email. Respond in 24 hours and just be on top of it. That's the best that you can do.
So looks like there's one more question. We're beginning to wind down. So if you have any more questions, please get them in now. Someone wants to know if that Google Plus can influence search. Shouldn't I start with that instead of Facebook?
Yes. Google Plus can influence search. My hesitation with Google Plus is Google has a history of launching products and then deleting them entirely. So you might remember the authorship product, or I mean, there's been a variety. So I wouldn't put all of your eggs in the Google Plus basket. I think that right now there's a correlation if you use keywords, if you share links. Some of the links are followed. The post can show up directly in Google search. There's a lot of value there. But don't overdo it. Maybe post once a week, once every 2 weeks. Just do enough in case it goes away.
And part of it's about whether you're doing this to reach and engage fans or just for search optimization purposes. There's a lot of power in engaging fans, getting your word out, and having those fans and followers engage and then reshare it. That can have as much impact in terms of lead generation as that a Google Plus post might have on search, because there are so many factors that do affect your rankings. So that's a good reason to just sort of judge what your real goals are and then pursue the right platform for some of those goals. I don't see any more questions, and the hour is just about up. Ashley, you did a great job. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for being on, and thank you, Zubin, for inviting us again. We really enjoy being here and look forward to the next webinar in December.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.